the last word, we shall be introducing a segment that is called NTV's Fact Check. Here's our first one.
Indeed, thanks, Eric. For our first one is very present of what has happened actually this week. So for some good reason, or for whatever reason, the National Police is unable to differentiate between two groups of people, protesters and goons. So I want to show you an image, and I want us to, in the studio, we give you a placard, all right? So on the red, it's, if you see a goon, red. If you see a protester, green, all right? So let's try it out, okay? Look at your screens. And at home, please look at this video and this picture. All right, so let's test it. There's cameras on you. Are those goons protesters? Green, protester, red, goon. I see. All right. Fascinating. Hold on to that. Hold on to that. I think we have another video. All right. Hang on to that. Play the next video, please. All right. The same. If you see a protester in the next video, it's green. If you see a goon, it's on red. To remind you, I've seen a lot of greens, all right, in this one, all right? I'll come back to you to help me understand why would you call those people protesters and the rest goons. Let's play it now.
Personally kudili na wase wa mademonstrator ndo wao sasa ndo hiyo sasa umeona wamekuja personally kudili na wale mademonstrators ni kama kuna magunsu wameachiliwa wengi sana wakuje personally kudili na wase so tao si kuzuri guys.
All right, can I get 30 seconds of your views? Did you see goons and protesters?
Well, whatever I saw was goonism. Because how would you infiltrate a peaceful demonstration coming with motorbike?
Okay. All right. Ladies, gents, let's attempt to solve this national crisis of identifying between a goon and a protester. Where should we start in trying to make sense of this?
I think we need to start by understanding what a goon is, a definition of a goon, perhaps.
Very well.
That's going to come from me.
Yeah, yes. Again, the difference is between a goon and a Gen Z, and as a representation of Gen Z. Well, we have to understand that goonism is a phenomenon, number one, and it's very deeply politicized. And most of the time, it's rooted in the logic of authoritarianism. But what is a goon, really? This is an individual deployed to intimidate, harass, stroke abduct, stroke assault civilians, particularly those engaged in dissent, protest, or activism. And in oppressive political systems, most of the time they function as instruments of coercion, protecting powers by silencing opposition through violence, fear, and impunity. And so it makes them a proxy face of repression. But importantly, where they exist, violence is outsourced to deny state responsibility.
Sharon?
I think also the question was goons versus legitimate protesters.
Right.
And it's important to note that there's more than just these two elements in a protest, because we've seen, we had massive looting that was reported as a headache that the police had to deal with, and the government is reporting to be a disruption of what is supposed to be otherwise peaceful protests. So the goons, as we've had from the definition, hold brief from certain masters, you know, called to disrupt whatever the cause of this protest are. There are also other elements who are just thugs and criminals who, even on a day that is not a protest day hold this identity, you know, so are not particularly just confined to that protest. And it's important then to learn that these are different people who hold different objectives. Criminals, you know, opportunistic, taking that opportunity, you can camouflage in the, they hold the cause for themselves. They are at work, yes.
So how can you differentiate? You see, like our gentleman here who's told us, he runs a business, right, in the CBD. And on the day of Maandamano, you knew that you're running a business, and so you wanted also to feel secure. Because you'd seen last year what happened to businesses in your neighboring building, and you know what was going to happen this time. There are many businesses that engaged with youth. Some of them who work for them in the shops, others who got people to come in and work. And they said, just be here so that you can protect our businesses from thugs, right? Mm-hmm. And arsonists, right? So those people who are there protecting businesses and they are armed with clubs, are they goons or?
From Zaha's explanation, those would be private police. They will be vigilantes.
Private
unofficial police.
All right, but they are not here with the intention of disrupting the demonstration.
But you see, they don't have any police code, they don't have any training, they don't know how to handle civilians. Basically, they've just begun a brief. Let nobody enter here. That means that the rules are theirs to make. And I think that's why we have, we have pretty strong people. I think some even stronger than the police in this country. But there's a reason why some people are designated as the official police, because then they have to go through a process where they have responsibility. So the duty of care they have to the people is based on the fact that we have spent time, money, all of these things, training them so that when they actually go out there, they do the right things. This is also the reason why when they don't do that, then there is hue and cry.
Hold on. These businesses have hired private security guards. These private security guards have rungus. On this day, private security guards in this building, well, armed with their rungus, are protecting the building. Are they vigilante or are they security?
No, I mean, if they are security that have been trained, because it's private securities, people don't just wake up and become.
Well, some do.
So then, and then there's a whole licensing thing around private security companies, and therefore the process around the people who work for them. But I wanted to just put a bit of a context to this, because I think sometimes when things like this happen, we imagine that they have just happened out of the blue. I think this is a trend that we have seen for many years. I would go back as far as one could, but think about, for example, in the 90s. I will talk about, for example, in June 1999. Zaha, I'm talking about 99.
I was an idea, but I was there.
and so we have the Reverend Timothy Njoya, who is outside of Parliament, and there is this quest for a new constitution, because the constitution that we have now, by the way, was fought for by a different generation. But now he is there, and then we have a gentleman, and I am calling him that because he's male, but he comes, his name is Shadrach. His name is Patrick Shikanda Likhotio, and he comes from a group that is called Jeshi la Mzee. Jeshi la Mzee was one of the Jeshis that were in this city, and in fact, it was widely associated with the then Westlands MP Fred Gumo. He denied it most of the time, but the idea was to just go there and disrupt this thing. He grabs a club from the cops there, beats up this clergyman, respected clergyman, and also not a young man. He was basically someone who was old enough to be his father. In an African setting, that is an important distinction. But then he beats him up, and you could see him there screaming. But the police were there. I mean, they were there with their rifles and everything. They did absolutely nothing about this. Second example, which is not even in Kenya. In 2007, I'm covering the elections in Nigeria. This was an important election because for the first time, there's a civilian government handing over to a civilian government. But then, even then, we had this polling station in a city called Minna in Niger State. And so we are going around polling stations. And then we are here, and suddenly this group of people emerge from wherever, yeah? And then they come in this place, they come, they beat up everybody in the station there, and then they run away. They run away with everything, right? and lo and behold, when we went back there in that place in the evening, there were some votes that they were counting there, never mind that people had been beaten and everything taken. So this is a phenomenon, and I think as Zaha was saying, it is not a Kenyan invention. It is not a 2024, 2025 invention. It is something that has been there and is been used very meticulously by different regimes, different politicians through time.
May I ask a question? If you met those people before they entered the polling station, would you have told whether they're goons?
Because they were armed. They were coming there with things, whips and clubs. I don't think that many normal people would go to a place to vote carrying those things. Whips. I mean, really, a vote is supposed to be very peaceful. So I think there is this idea that we can't distinguish. That might be okay for you and I, but there are people whose job it is to distinguish so that they're able to protect the good people, I think.
So here's the thing. I have members of the audience, and if I can have 30 seconds, the lady